Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Wednesday, November 29th, 2023. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first card in our 5-card spread? First card we are starting up with today is 9 of Swords. I'm not surprised to see this card right now. As we mentioned, there's a lot of weight that's being put on situations and circumstances at this time. It is requiring a moment of navigating through some spaces or places of grief or frustration. This is coming through for all of the energy right now. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now that are in divine union and partnership, what we're effectively seeing is this has more to do with some of the external situations beyond or outside the divine union or the divine partnership at this time. Effectively, what we are identifying is for the energies at play right now, it is that feeling of navigating some of this that is feeling to a certain extent like a point of frustration. I will stress, though, that one of the advantages that we see here is a difficulty or a hurdle that is recognized is one that can be surmounted. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are in divine union and partnership, one of the things that we see that the divine union and partnership is allowing is this moment of catharsis in being able to share these points of mutual grief, navigating them together, being able to open up and express these frustrations is what the power of the divine union provides. And it is heavy energy. There's a lot to unpack here, but we see that for masculine and feminine right now, this is that moment of mutual accountability. Why are we seeing this moment of mutual accountability? Because what was the message that masculine was effectively trying to tell to feminine yesterday, even in divine union and partnership, bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to? Feminine was almost coming through as a point of looking at masculine and saying to them, how do you not let yourself go into these states or spaces of overwhelm? How do you continue to focus on those things that you're creating for yourself, on building that stability? Feminine's almost expressing to masculine yesterday that feeling of disconnectedness because the masculine wasn't able to share the feminine's own feelings of emotional overwhelm at this time. And the message that masculine was effectively saying to feminine in divine union at that moment was looking at feminine and almost letting them in on their secret, which was the fact of masculine saying, I also share your concerns. I also share your fears. Masculine energy effectively was trying to build that bridge, that emotional bridge with feminine yesterday by amplifying to them and saying, I want you to understand something. It's not that I don't have those same fears. Masculine was almost saying to feminine in divine union, I also carry those fears. I just choose not to confront them. I choose not to face them. This is masculine saying, I do it anyway. I work through the fear. I push through. The masculine almost saying, the things you see me doing, I'm not doing because I lack fear. This is the masculine energy that's if in divine union saying, I am terrified all of the time. I do it anyway. Feminine almost observing the masculine opening up in that capacity. It's almost going to feel like, and again, it's going to feel almost like this immediate sense. And this is why the feminine is potentially feeling a lot of this like shared grief right now. Because this is the feminine that's almost feeling the weight that the masculine has on like that hidden, quiet burden that the masculine energy may carry right now in divine union and partnership, that the feminine recognizes the masculine works not to present. For feminine, this is almost that moment of now feeling, again, this is why the masculine doesn't say these things to the feminine, because this is a feminine that is a mirror. So the feminine almost immediately becomes receptive to that. And the feminine's almost like carrying that weight now too, because now it's like the feminine being like, now the feminine is almost like feeling the additional burden of carrying their own sense of grief, but also carrying the grief that the masculine has like effectively revealed to them in that capacity. So it feels like, again, it's a moment right now of bearing that weight, but it feels like a shared burden that allows for that point of positivity going forward. Masculine and feminine energy trying to come into divine union right now. what we're effectively identifying is this moment that, again, this has to do with some of that frustration and potentially what we're even seeing right now, especially for this energy. If you navigated some of those hurdles last week, what did we see was happening yesterday that was really beautiful for the energy coming into divine union at this time? For the masculine energy that's coming into divine union at this time, I have to stress, it doesn't feel like sunshine or rainbows. It doesn't feel like, like bluebirds flying in the sky. It feels like this gut punch moment. Why does it feel like a gut punch moment right now for the masculine energy that's coming into divine union and partnership right now? Because there was a point of observation that was potentially reached over the last few days, especially if this was masculine and feminine energy. Feminine going through this period or point of crisis. Masculine, again, if pushing through their own sense of crisis, but trying to be there to support the feminine through their own sense of crisis. This was something about feeling that connective tissue that was forming between the masculine and feminine energy. And it feels a little bit like a gut punch to the masculine, because that gut punch moment is almost this moment in recognizing that this is no longer a circumstance or situation of masculine that's moving towards feminine just because things are easy. It's recognizing that this is becoming more serious, that this is a masculine that realizes and sees the weight of the divine union forming, the burden it creates, the anxiety it creates, because the point of anxiety that masculine was potentially feeling through that point of crisis is not being there for the feminine, not being able to support them. This is almost a masculine's finding themselves like their attention turning towards that feminine, and it doesn't feel like this like happy moment of being like, yay, I'm in love, yay, things are going well. It feels like that stomach dropping moment of masculine almost saying to themselves, oh no, like, oh no, I have it bad. Oh no, I've got it for this person. Like, this is something that feels like it is very grounding. It feels like it is very this is like the lead weight of the divine union coming into the play, that's like sinking into the masculine energy and saying like, this is something right now that is incredibly important and valuable to the masculine. But that immediately, almost for the masculine energy, creates a state or space of fear right now, because something that matters is something that immediately starts to build that anxiety in protecting it, in wanting to protect it, right? Feminine energy, if trying to come into divine union right now with masculine, this is that moment where, again, we even identified or saw some of this happening yesterday, a feminine looking at the masculine and being like, are you okay? Are you okay right now? Because there could be something right now with the feminine, like almost getting a little distressed because the masculine energy is moving in a different way that they might not necessarily be able to like articulate, because it's almost, again, it's like a masculine energy that's getting more anxious. But that's because this is a masculine energy that is now like, yeah, it's like it's like some anxiety has entered the realm to a certain extent, because this is a masculine energy that's trying to navigate the deepening of their feelings. Now, masculine and feminine energy. And feminine doesn't feel like this around these things. Feminine doesn't feel like that weight is something to like run from. Feminine energy is like, that's why this may be confusing. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are in separation, this is going to feel like a lot of shared grief right now. Both of these energies in separation are effectively in the same state or space, and it feels very painful, because again, these are two energies that effectively, there's even this moment right now of feminine bearing the weight of the feeling of desiring to come into connection with a masculine, but again, potentially pulling away from that masculine energy because there's a feeling that the masculine energy is not ready for the responsibility inherent in a divine union connection. This is not due to a lack of care. This is not a separation that is due to a lack of care. It is a separation that is caused due to a lack of prioritization and responsibility. This is, I like to identify this, like go watch that like monologue in Scrooge about what feminine says to masculine, saying, I am not the priority in your life right now. I am not the focal point. and I need to be. This is almost a feminine that's almost amplifying that there may be a masculine that's saying like, you want too much of my attention. You want too much of this. You're potentially even trying to paint the feminine in some way of, trying to take something away from masculine by asking the masculine to affirm the commitment. And this is a feminine that's almost saying to the masculine right now, there's no possibility of divine union here, because you don't see this as something that you're willingly giving me. You're seeing this as something that I'm asking you for, and you are reluctant and resistant, or even potentially trying to paint me as like the problem by trying to ask for these things. That's why feminine is feeling this grief right now, because this is a connection that they're almost forcing themselves to separate from, with the aspiration and the desire that they did not have to do so. Masculine, if in separation right now, this could feel like a bit of that gut punch moment, because what has been effectively happening as it relates to the last few days, you may have gotten a lot of confirmation from a lot of energy around you that's shown you to a certain extent, at the very least, how some of your actions may have been misinterpreted or moved you in the wrong direction from your goals right now, potentially as it relates to feminine. For that reason, we see now that this is either a masculine that's embodying one of two different modalities right now. This is a masculine that is feeling the full weight of that recognition point, of feeling and seeing to a certain extent that the point of observation that was coming through, not just from the feminine that tried to articulate something to the masculine, but also from other energy around them that is amplifying the same message right now. It almost confirms something that feminine may have tried to bring forth to the masculine, but masculine was resistant to see. And this is a masculine energy trying to navigate this right now, and either, again, embodying that lesson, recognizing the misinterpretation point, feeling some of the weight of those choices or those actions at this time, or this is a masculine that is feeling very much polarizing from this circumstance or situation, feeling like it's them against everybody, because it's almost a feeling of not wanting to embody the lesson, but feeling like this moment of deep grief or anxiety in terms of feeling isolated or almost like no one understands you. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is Six of Pentacles in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy in divine union or in divine partnership right now. What we're effectively seeing is simply a moment that is amplifying or articulating, again, that moment of shared grief, that moment of shared burden. It's not the fact that masculine and feminine energy right now, even if in divine union and partnership, aren't feeling the weight of some feeling of anxiety or some feeling of crisis. It is also feeling the additional burden in feeling like whatever the other one is feeling, there's a limitation in terms of how you can help with it. There's a limitation in terms of how to navigate that burden. It's that point of frustration that is almost building that bond right now between masculine and feminine, even if in divine union and partnership at this moment, because it's that moment of a grief, the grief that you both experience within the self, that only yourself can navigate. And you can be present, you can do everything you can in one way or another, but there's almost that feeling of recognizing that some of this can't be lifted off of the back of the other energy. It's just their burden to carry. And that is that moment that even in divine union and partnership right now could feel like a little bit of a hurdle and a painful moment, because it could almost create a space or state of seeing the other energy having to navigate those hurdles right now, and not being able to do something about it to the full extent that you would ideally aspire or desire to. For masculine and feminine energy right now trying to come into divine union and partnership, this is that moment. And almost, I have to stress, one of the things that's potentially happening right now that could feel more isolating for the energy that's in divine union and partnership right now is almost a feeling of getting a bit cavalier with each other, because you don't want to add to each other's burdens right now. That's almost the point. It's like trying to be there for each other, but recognizing that you're both dealing with something, and just trying to say I'm not trying to add to your problems, but I also can't help with some of these things. Masculine and feminine energy trying to come into divine union right now. This is that moment. Masculine is recognizing and realizing that some of the change that they're experiencing right now of trying to come into union, the grief that masculine is feeling right now is the fact that masculine doesn't feel that desire or that need to put forth in other spaces or places or energies right now. In a way, that is what's creating that sense of anxiety right now for the masculine, because this is a masculine that's suddenly feeling like, this is how the masculine coming into partnership right now is feeling. This is the masculine being like, I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket. I'm putting all of my eggs in one basket. And that's creating a state or space of the masculine feeling the anxiety of that, because it's like the weight. It's like, it doesn't feel romantic to the masculine energy. It feels like, oh no, all of my eggs. It's almost like masculine's like watching this happen energetically and not being able to stop it. It's like, oh no, all of my eggs have gotten into that basket. Now I've got this one basket full of where my eggs are because I don't want to put them in another basket. So this is that moment that for masculine, it's like, this is the deepening of the divine union. But it doesn't feel that ultimately like super positive. It almost feels like a little bit like that masculine going like, again, I keep hearing, oh no. Feminine energy coming into divine union right now. If you're effectively going through this, you're potentially, this is, if the masculine energy's gotten a little weird on something, this is why. Because this is a masculine that you may be seeing like, maybe getting a little bit more like, it's almost going to feel to a feminine energy right now. And I need to stress so you don't misinterpret this. This is a masculine getting a little bit more potentially tight-lipped, getting a little like not opening up about what they're feeling right now, because like, what's masculine going to say to feminine? What's masculine going to say to feminine? I'm feeling really anxious because like I'm falling for you. Like this is a feminine, like almost seeing the masculine, like there's something different about them, but they can't put their finger on it. Now, masculine and feminine energy that are in separation right now, this is some heavy energy. This is feminine energy if in separation right now, feeling the sadness, the frustration, the weight. This is not a situation of a feminine that doesn't want to give to a masculine right now. This is the energy of a feminine that realizes it's an imbalanced give and take. Especially if this is a feminine that just tried to build an emotional bridge to the masculine during a time of crisis, and masculine just pushed it away, or almost like shrugged it off and said like, I don't have time for that. That's not my problem, that's yours. I've got other responsibilities. Why are you trying to spoil something with your problems? This is a feminine that is recognizing that they need to effectively make that choice to literally cut this karmic cord. This is a feminine that's almost feeling that grief, a feminine not wanting to, but feeling like they have to effectively, because it's not something that they see the possibility of moving into divine union and partnership on. It's one of feeling instead like it is a connective energy that requires them to feel like they're put on a shelf and has to be accessible and available to masculine when masculine deems it appropriate, but not when the feminine needs it most. And that is why this feminine is, again, just working on not going back to the circumstances or situations, but instead just trying to cut that cord. This is what we actually mean by cord cutting. Not this is that observation of the feminine, like affirming this, having that moment. This is the only way the cord cutting works, is if the feminine actually recognizes this and says, this is why I have to cut the cord. You need to have your why. This is the why that the feminine needs and is affirming to themselves, that says to them, this is why we need to this connection is not balance, it needs to be severed or corrected. Masculine in separation right now. This is that moment that potentially is feeling like a point that there's something here for the masculine that may be feeling very heavy, because it may be feeling a little bit like point of no return here. as it relates to something, to circumstance or situation. Because what we're effectively identifying here for some of the masculine energy and separation right now is the weight and the import of what was effectively delivered to you, not just from feminine recently, but potentially even from healthy karmic energy around you that was trying to give you some notes, giving you some point of insight on your own actions that affirmed, thank you for the gift, that affirmed what the feminine was trying to tell you for your own benefit. And for masculine right now, again, two different modalities coming in. This is that point of clarification. This is like the veil being lifted from your own eyes in terms of recognizing how you're, like where that inability came from, like where this reciprocity or this pulling back. It's almost like you can see now. Someone's shown you how something that you were asking for wasn't feeling fair, wasn't feeling balanced, was feeling potentially like you were taking, but not giving anything for what you were taking. And it's in that moment right now that, again, is almost feeling like this point of grief, because, again, it's almost feeling right now like you're looking at something and you're seeing you're seeing yourself in that optics. You're seeing how you may have been misunderstood, or your choices to withhold or to hold back, even if they were from a place of fear may have been misread. And that's what's creating this point of grief right now. And for masculine right now, there's a feeling that potentially is feeling doubly difficult, because not only is it seeing things from this new perspective, but feeling the anxiety about whether there is a possibility of coming into a point of change. If there is something here that can be corrected for, if there is something here that can be fixed, or is it too late? Masculine is almost having that point of observation right now. And again, the other part of the modality right now, if feeling this, is potentially the opposite. This is potentially masculine that not only got some of this insight, had that point of healing note coming in, not only from a feminine that's around you right now, but almost the observation of platonic, healthy karmic energy trying to show you this aspect of yourself right now. And this might be a moment that instead of accepting or receiving that lesson, you're pushing back against it. You're just like, you're resisting it. You're saying like some of that, like, no, I don't want to accept that lesson. In which case, this is again feeling very isolating, because it's almost coming through from a point of refusal. And it's almost like, again, potentially closing some friendships, closing some karmic energy around you if you're that resistant to having taken that note, just being like, they don't understand, I don't need them, like almost like pushing those doors shut instead of allowing for that moment of lesson or understanding to come into play. Continuing to get clarification, third card in our 5-card spread, center card for today. A lot of grief here, a lot of that burden, a lot of that pain rising to the surface right now to be navigated, to be managed. Masculine and feminine energy, even in divine union right now. There is this moment of seeing and assessing each other's pain. And the problem around it right now is, again, some of this pain is, and again, this is where the catharsis comes in. This is going to feel more like a cathartic moment for divine union right now, because it's not the observation, the pain that's almost happening right now in divine union is seeing the companionate energy going through a struggle that you can't necessarily be there to fix or help. It's their journey, it's their struggle, it's their hurdle. It's recognizing, making space right now for the masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to just have that moment. And it's going to feel like a point of catharsis, because again, it's almost the pain of seeing the companionate energy going through a struggle and saying effectively that I can't help remove that from you. There's only so much I can do, but I want you to see and understand that I see it there. And in a way, it's like that observation, being present with each other, holding that space to allow for that openness of communication on what hurts is effectively helping to at least understand one another. It's leading to a deepening of understanding. It's leading to that collective. It's like, let me hold space with you. Let me sit with you. Let's share in that pain together. Is what the beauty of the divine union is, because a pain shared is a pain that can be carried. Masculine and feminine energy that is moving into divine union and partnership right now. What we're effectively seeing here is, again, because this is coming through now, masculine and feminine, they're coming into divine union right now. This is that moment that, it's potentially feeling to a certain degree or to a certain extent like one of the things that may be coming through right now for the energy coming into divine union is, again, almost this moment of being like recognizing that feeling of not wanting to be away from the other person, like wanting to see them more, wanting to be in more contact, because something that potentially happened, what happened with these energies, if you persevered, if you just went through that point of crisis, and during that point of crisis, you fell together instead of apart, you were there to support each other through it, you were present, it's almost like immediately formed deeper connective tissue between you both. It's like, again, it's almost that moment of the whole partnership moving into that like deeper, like that deeper fathom, if you will. Because this is that moment that there's a lot of potential unpacking here, and potentially even saying to one another, like, you never told me that before. You never told me about this. You never said that. Because this is that opening, right? It's like, your pain is the opening of the shell that encloses your understanding here, the Kalal Gibran. This is coming through here. There's almost this moment of the energy opening up in ways that they haven't before and expressing things. But again, allowing that to be a point of that connective tissue forming. And that effectively is, again, for masculine, this is a little terrifying. We're seeing from the masculine energy right now, this is feeling like something that is almost terrifying, because this is, again, a masculine that's feeling the weight of the divine union being one that, again, it almost feels like energetically or emotionally right now, you can just kind of see all of your eggs being popped into this one basket, right? For feminine, this isn't going to feel as terrifying. It's going to feel almost in a way like you're starting to see something opening up. You're almost like seeing like this energy opening up to you, telling you things that they haven't told you before, revealing things that you haven't revealed. Because again, this is an energy that's starting to feel like that point of emotional trust where they can share some of these deeper hurts. Masculine and feminine that are in separation right now, what we're effectively seeing is this is why we see that potentially some of this energy is happening that's going to feel like a bit of an energetic cord cutting right now. Specifically, because what we're identifying here is, again, a feminine energy that's looking at circumstances or situations. This is not a feminine energy that desires to end the connection point with the masculine. But there is a feminine energy here that observed something over the last week, potentially having gone through a point or a moment of crisis, reaching out to the masculine. And if this was a masculine energy that, instead of seeing the amount of like that connective tissue that feminine was trying to build with them, needing the masculine there, and masculine wasn't there to receive it, or worse, came from a point of reprisal in the feminine, trying to ask for them in that, like ask them to be there in that capacity. This is a moment of feminine feeling like this is a masculine that only desires them in their life when it suits them. That is effectively the shape that the relationship would take if the feminine were to stay in connection with that energy. It does not feel like it shows the possibility of a divine union. And therefore, the feminine energy is effectively separating from that energy. They're making the conscientious choice to move away from that energy. And why is the feminine doing this? The feminine energy is saying to themselves, this isn't equal give and take. This isn't reciprocity. This is something that only takes and is not only desires me to be there for them, but is not there for me. And this is a feminine that, again, is severing that connection potentially, but also breaking their own heart a bit in the process, because the feminine doesn't want to do that, but again recognizes that this is the feminine's own path of stoicism, recognizing the difference between where their heart is calling them versus what they know is the right thing to do or what they deserve. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is going to feel like a lot of heavy energy right now. Because what we're seeing for the masculine in separation right now is, again, something that you were received as it relates to some of the energy around you at this time. Someone trying to give you feedback, energy that not even is in romantic situations with you right now. Energy that's trying to like help you see something, a blind spot that you may have been missing as it relates to some situations or circumstances that you either presently find yourself in or from the recent past. And this is a moment that either feels like a bit of a gut punch because it's a confirmation point on something that the feminine energy may have tried to show or tell you about yourself that you refuse to see. But you're now seeing in the optics of them. It's not just them, it's others who also see it. Or this is a moment of masculine pushing back. Again, almost going into this denial phase. Almost like looking right now masculine and being like, no, they don't understand and you don't understand and you don't understand. But that's starting to feel isolating. Because that's that moment that's like, it's feeling like, you know, every time this happens, it's like you're not, now it's potentially like affecting even outside partnerships that aren't even romantically based right now. Because some of this was coming from spaces and places that you know don't have any other reason to tell you beyond the fact that they care. So masculine and feminine energy, that masculine energy in separation right now is this like point and this understanding of, again, just recognizing and seeing to a certain degree that something here is just like bearing that weight, and also potentially seeing something right now, seeing it in a way that you didn't before is adding additional burden here. And now it's almost asking oneself if there's something you can do about it, what to do about it. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, we've got here our Temperance in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that is moving in divine union. This is that moment. Does this card look familiar, my friends? Does this card look familiar? This is the same card that we pulled yesterday. Okay. Everything's happening way too quickly right now. It's almost that feeling or that point of frustration right now. It's really just feeling that sense of, it's like this is going to feel like that double whammy right now of like, there's some of that collective anxiety we saw yesterday, and also like the feeling of frustration, you know, like needing things to slow down a little bit, wanting things to like ease up. Masculine and feminine energy right now, even at this moment, one of the things that we're seeing that you may be creating this space or state of feeling a little bit overburdened right now is feeling like you got a lot to do, but almost feeling like you don't have a lot of time to do it. You know, it's like on top of everything, right? On top of the emotional work that you're doing right now, right? It's like you also got it. You've got like, this is like deadline energy. This is like energy of like, you know, moving much faster than you effectively would desire to. This is also why we see that this is that point of frustration right now, because it's almost this moment of, again, not only seeing your companion at energy, being in a space or space that you want to leave and hold space for them as they're going through these hurdles, but almost being like, I don't have time to. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's almost that like collective energy of being like, I you know, I think we need like, and this could be a lot of conversations right now about things that get opened up that need to be unpacked, and almost like that point of confirmation saying to a certain extent, like, we need to set this aside right now and talk about this later. There could be a lot of that moment that comes through today where like things bubble up to the surface, and just looking at the other energy, if you're in your divine union and partnership right now, being like, we're going to have to put a pin in this, but it feels awful because it feels like an awful thing to put a pin in, but we're going to have to unpack that later. Like, we're going to have to deal with that later. And almost like feeling the weight of not wanting to do that, because whatever this is feels like it is large enough that, like, you know, it feels like both energies want to address it now, but they also recognize that they can't right now. So it's almost like that collective moment of being like, you know, choose the work on what needs to be done now, and we can deal with that shared grief later. Masculine and feminine energy that is moving towards divine union and partnership. This is that moment that we're seeing is almost potentially going to result in a lot of like, I need to stress today. There might be a moment today where someone like pops through, if you're like moving into divine union and partnership, someone being like, let's move in together. Let's do this. Let's do that. And almost like feminine, this is almost the feminine coming into a space or state right now of being like, a minute ago you were like not even sure if you wanted to be together. Now this, like what is that? Like what is this like? This is feeling like someone like taking a car and like turning it like really, really fast. Because what we're effectively seeing here right now is that something has occurred over the last few days, especially if these were energies that both went through a bit of a crisis, but you supported each other throughout it. Masculine took on that shared burden of the feminine's like emotional hurdles, stuck around when things were difficult, not just when things are easy. Feminine saw the masculine doing that, making the feminine the priority, even during moments that their attention was being called or driven elsewhere. And what we're effectively seeing here is this is masculine almost immediately kind of confirming, because again, what do we see? The masculine's almost emotionally watching. They're like emotionally and spiritually, they're seeing their eggs popping into one basket, even beyond their own desire for them to do so right now. This is almost the masculine energy saying to a certain extent. With feminine, this is a masculine being like, no, this is just the way it's got to be. Because the masculine energy, I need to stress, it's almost interesting. It's like the masculine feels like they have little control over the situation right now, because this is just how the masculine feels. It's like the power or the import of the feminine. It's like the masculine now feels a lot of anxiety potentially rising up in losing the feminine energy and wanting to like take steps to like, secure that to a certain extent, because the masculine is now feeling like, again, it's like that gut punch moment being like, oh no, I really care about this energy. So feminine, if you're moving into divine union right now, this could be a little bit of that like, what happened kind of moment, because this is that moment that we're seeing potentially that's happening, that's leading to the deepening of a partnership. But it may feel like a little bit of like a sea change that may be a little more confusing for the feminine, because this could almost be feeling like a masculine that went from like one mode to another, like almost overnight. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation right now. This is why we see that the feminine energy is not sticking around for any of this back and forth, any of this uncertainty. If feminine saw this moment that just effectively occurred, wherein feminine was going through a crisis and feminine reached out to the masculine, and masculine was not there to support them through it, or even potentially reprise them for interfering in their priorities with feminine's own priorities. This is a feminine that recognizes that this is a masculine that's not looking at things from a divine union perspective, but only from the unilateral approach, only from the single objective, only from the single perspective. And this is feminine saying, I can't change that. I can't make this energy care. I can't make this energy have empathy where empathy does not live. And that is why we see the feminine is effectively doing almost like this emotional or energetic cord cutting right now, because this is feminine almost looking at the masculine and feeling the pain of a masculine and saying to themselves, I cannot grow a flower where a flower does not exist. I cannot make something be where it is not. I just have to acknowledge that it is not there, and that the masculine does not feel the weight of love, right? Because love is a burden, okay? The weight, and this is a feminine that potentially feels that burden of the love for a masculine, but is not seeing the masculine willing to bear that same burden for the feminine. And this is a feminine that's carrying that, again, that pain with them as they proceed forward, with the confirmation that they have to move away from something right now. Masculine energy, if in separation, this is that moment, if in separation, that you may understand why you are in separation. Particularly if, again, you unpack some things with some energy around you at this time, and you got confirmation on what occurred that feels like the feminine's own, like them moving more in alignment with what the feminine was perceiving. This is a moment that feels like a point of heartbreak, because this is a moment that, again, is either you having that change in perception, seeing things from a different angle that feels shocking, that feels almost like, you know, it's like feels like an epiphany moment, because you're seeing how some of the issues that you're carrying with you right now may have been due to your own lack of action around circumstances or situations. Or, and this is a moment of masculine, almost like wanting to rush to do something about it, but now feeling the weight or anxiety about whether it's possible to do anything about it. While for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is a moment wherein you could be pushing back against everybody. If this is energy that's like someone's trying to tell you something and other people are trying to tell you something, this is almost feeling like, again, you're just isolating yourself, potentially feeling like, I don't know why everyone's against me. I don't know why no one understands. You know, and almost getting too short and being like, they'll never understand. No, it's like that denial moment happening to a certain extent. Fifth card in our 5-card spread. Yeah. So this is good, because this is the reversal of the card that we got yesterday. Masculine and feminine energy. Now, masculine and feminine energy that we're effectively going through this right now. If in divine union and partnership, this sharing of the collective burden. This is even holding each other, holding space for past heartbreaks, even in divine union right now, past grief, anything that you're carrying right now. There's that moment of, again, sharing that burden, feeling that weight or frustration in terms of certain burdens that you cannot remove from another person. But just basically, and again, almost feeling the frustration of wanting to be potentially present with the other person right now, but feeling like you don't have the time to. What did I say? You know, it's good. It's like something has been put in the air, and now it's like something that can be navigated. You know, it's almost like this moment, like, again, it's going to feel a little bit more like for the masculine and feminine and divine union and partnership right now, having that point of optics and almost feeling like we're putting a pin in something. But in a way, it's almost coming through in a way that we think is so nice. And this is the beauty and the value of the divine union and partnership. This is almost both energies saying, you don't need to do anything about it. Just being able to express it is all I need. That's almost literally what each energy is saying in divine union right now. I don't need you to do anything about it. I just need someone to be here to talk to about it. And that's the beauty of the divine union energy. It's having that openness to be able to unpack these things, to share those pains, having that moment of catharsis and sympathy is in itself that is moving into divine union right now, or into divine partnership. This is that moment that we are effectively identifying, that we are seeing, that for the energy trying to come into divine union and partnership at this moment, there is a point of observation wherein we see that for these energies, this is basically moving you right back into that divine union energy. Because what we're effectively identifying at this moment is it's going to feel very much similar to what we just saw for divine union, because this is a moment that it feels like the walls are coming down between you. Like there isn't anything here that feels like it is a wall. It's like the walls are just coming down to a certain extent. And it's that moment that's like allowing for things to potentially pick up speed right now as it relates to moving into deepening commitment. So things may start moving a lot quicker right now for the energy coming into divine union, because this is almost a masculine that, again, it's like the separation point, the revelation that came through over the last few days was that point of recognition that being apart is the source of the pain for the masculine, and that's something that the masculine is effectively trying to address. While feminine, this is going to feel to a certain extent very much like a point that we are observing wherein we are identifying to a certain extent that this is effectively a moment that may feel like a little bit of a shocking moment for the feminine energy that's moving into divine union right now, because this could feel like you're seeing a masculine energy kind of like taking like a little bit of like a 90-degree turn in terms of wanting to move slowly to suddenly wanting to move much more quickly. Masculine, and that in a way is going to feel like a bit of like an easement point for the feminine, but like even potentially a little confusing, like almost the feminine like trying to pull the brakes and be like what, like almost trying to understand what's occurred but having a hard time understanding it. Masculine and feminine energy that is in separation. This is why the feminine energy is working to separate themselves from any of this connection. If this was a connection that effectively showed in some way, shape, or form that it wasn't desiring divine union, but instead was coming into a state or space where it's like the feminine energy feels like, again, this is why we see the feminines creating this point of separation potentially from a masculine. If they did not see the masculine energy assisting them or coming towards them in a moment of crisis, but instead almost push them away because of their own problems that they were dealing with, this is a feminine energy that's effectively saying to themselves that this is a masculine energy, that it's not from lack of care. This feminine's carrying the love in their heart for this masculine energy, but this is a masculine energy that does not desire divine union, but instead is looking for a feminine energy that can just be kept on a shelf. And this is a feminine energy that's effectively saying, no, that's not something that they're there for. This is a feminine energy saying they're just releasing that. They're almost allowing this to be a point of karmic cord cutting. And it pains them. It literally pains the feminine to do so. But still the feminine's proceeding forward, because the feminine's almost saying to themselves, they cannot wait. They cannot wait to see a masculine change like this. They just need to find masculine energy that desires divine union. And that's all the feminine is telling themselves right now, and saying that that's what they need to amplify to be able to go forward from this point. Feminine's energy saying not another, not a minute longer. And that's why feminine's healing from this a lot faster. Masculine energy in separation right now, what we are effectively seeing is this moment where, again, something occurred over the last few days that gave you some insight. It gave you some clarity. It gave you some point of understanding of the self that you may not necessarily have seen prior to this point. And it is that point of observation being revealed to you. Something that not only is something that is seen by the person that you may feel like you're in separation from, but other energy around you that potentially confirmed what the feminine energy was trying to say to you if in separation. This feels like a moment that feels like a lot of heavy energy here, because again, you're looking at something with new optics, and now there is a deep desire to want to come into a correction. Like there's something here about wanting to do something and just trying to figure out what you can do. And so again, for a lot of the masculine energy, this is about going back to situations potentially from the past to be able to correct for them, or taking these lessons forward with you into the future. It's really about which direction you go from here. Masculine energy, the other part of the masculine energy right now, if you're receiving these lessons, this could be a moment that feels like you're isolating yourself from a lot of different energy around you right now, specifically because you're not necessarily receptive to this lesson. This could be a moment that you're just pushing back on it and saying, no, I refuse it. I refuse to understand these things about myself. I refuse to believe these things. But the problem is, if you're doing this, it's feeling like very much of an isolating journey. Because again, it's like it feels like a little bit like you're trying to like avoid the problem by not facing it, even though it's feeling like in a way it's now starting to be like a point of almost feeling to a certain extent like a stop me if you've heard this one before. You know, it's starting to feel like you're hearing this like again and again right now, because it's like a lot of the energy around you is trying to like give you this important lesson. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Swords in combination with our Six of Pentacles in its reversal. One card to clarify. Knight of Swords in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now. If in divine union and partnership, this is that moment that we are effectively seeing wherein, again, masculine, this is the thing. Masculine didn't want to like open up to feminine in this way because, again, this is almost a moment. This is like masculine literally being like, this is why I don't like talking about these things. Because when I talk about them, it makes it hard for me to do things. Like, if anything, that's the point of masculine almost saying to the feminine, like, this is exactly what I was trying to amplify to you. Because this is almost a feminine now being like, oh, I want to unpack. Like, tell me what these fears are. Tell me all these things that you say that you're carrying that like, that you make it so hard. And masculine's almost being like, no, didn't you hear what I said? Like, this is almost masculine trying to help the feminine with this lesson and being like, no, don't you get it? Don't you remember the part that I said we don't talk about those things? That's how I'm able to get stuff done. This is almost the masculine saying like that you're missing like the valuable point in what I just amplified to you. Feminine, you may be experiencing this right now because, again, this is a feminine. What does feminine want to do? Feminine wants to open up. Feminine wants to unpack. Feminine wants to like, share this. Masculine's like, no, let's close it up. Like, let's not do that. Let's just shut the cupboard and keep moving forward on things right now. It's not going to feel as heavy right now for masculine and feminine. It's almost going to feel like a moment of having that disparity in what you want to do in this moment that creates that little bit of disparity here, because masculine doesn't feel that need to open up in this capacity. And feminine's like, but I want you to open up. And masculine being like, but I don't want to open up, Masculine and feminine energy trying to come into divine union right now. This is the same exact energy. This could be feminine saying to masculine, what's with this change? And masculine being like, I don't know what you're talking about. Feminine being like, what are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. Like, last week you were like this week you're like that. What happened? And if anything, it's like masculine doesn't want to like open up about this, because what's masculine going to say to the feminine? I care about you, and now I'm terrified I'm going to lose you. So I need to like move forward quickly because I had this like gut punch moment and recognizing that like I can't help my eggs moving into this basket now. Like, this is now like something that like I have no control over and I just need to protect it. Like, it's literally masculine being like, I can't tell you that. So this is almost the masculine trying to figure out a way to like, almost being very, again, much of that pentacle energy coming back into play. Being like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about what's changed. It's just, like almost like getting a little tongue-tied. And feminine, feminine, you're either picking up on what's happening here or you're just really confused. Masculine and feminine that are in separation right now. This is why feminine's cutting the cord. Energetically and spiritually right now. Because this is a feminine that, again, the grief that the feminine is feeling is that feminine could have all the love that they want for an energy like this. But the problem that they recognize is the weight or the capacity of feeling like this is not a masculine that's going to come to their rescue. This is not a masculine that's going to be there when they need them to be. Because feminine basically got some point of clarity last week. Feminine got a point of clarity and almost already had it happen. This is almost a feminine saying to the masculine, energetically and spiritually, doesn't matter how much I care about you. When I needed you most, you weren't there. When I needed you most, you left me hanging. When I needed you most, you pushed me aside and you said you had more important things that you needed to attend to, that this could be dealt with later, that I'm something that could be dealt with later. And that's the feminine basically saying to the masculine. This is why we see the feminine saying, it doesn't matter. I have to carry my love and I have to move away from you. Because this isn't a separation due to a lack of love. It is a separation in not seeing a masculine show up when the feminine needed them most. Feminine's basically, again, taking that Venus in retrograde lesson and saying, and the feminine almost saying, I would always be there for you. That's how the feminine's helping to cut this cord too. Feminine saying, there would be, without a moment's notice, feminine knows that they would be there for the masculine. It's recognizing, having had some point of observation and saying, that is not the case for you. Nor will it ever be feminine saying, I cannot turn this into a rose. I cannot turn something that is there into something that is, something that's not there into something that is. This is feminine just closing it off. carrying the pain as they do so. Masculine, if in separation right now, this is a point of observation of someone, something around you that's giving you a little bit of like an eye opener on this, in terms of, again, potentially even articulating, explaining a situation or circumstance to others, and feeling the energy basically say, well, I understand their perspective. Can you not see how X, Y, and Z? And it's that moment for masculine where it feels doubly difficult right now, because it's not just the fact that there was something here that you're seeing that you may not necessarily have given to the way that you should have. It's almost like something about you recalling or recounting it to others right now was a point of amplifying to you their own notes about what you might have done differently. And this is that moment for the masculine in separation that's feeling doubly difficult, because it is an observation now in what you could have given forth in a moment that was different than what you did. And now potentially even wanting to give forth in that way, recognizing that reciprocity that was needed, being uncertain or unsure if it's even possible. And again, for some of the masculine energy right now, this is feeling like a lot of that internal assessment, in feeling and looking at something now and almost having to say to oneself, I acted out of fear. The choice I made was one where I chose fear over what I desired to do, over what I should have done. And for some of the masculine in separation right now, there's confronting that is feeling like some of that burden that is being carried. While for the other part of the masculine collective right now, this is pushing back on that. This is almost pushing back on that and saying like, no, that's not true. No, I refuse to believe that. No. Moving from a point of fear away from something that you don't want to receive, but also potentially recognizing that even that pushing away feels like something based on a fear, as opposed to a coming into acceptance. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Six of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Three of Swords. May I please have one card to clarify? Ace of Cups in its reversal. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is moving in divine union and partnership. There is this point of observation right now as it relates to, again, circumstances or situations. Both, I got to stress right now, self-care, even in divine union and partnership right now, is really going to be key. Because what we're effectively seeing to a certain extent is there is this moment that's amplifying, like spaces and places where care of the self needs to be made first, like front and foremost. It's almost this moment that's like really amplifying what that care looks like. And almost, again, this is the masculine and feminine energy into divine union and partnership that is effectively requiring or addressing some moments right now of being like almost having to overly dote on the other energy to make sure that they're taking care of themselves as they go through as you both go through circumstances or situations that feel like they are very difficult. It's almost like keeping that point of observation. That is how the care is expressing themselves right now as it relates to how to help one another. Because again, this is showing right now difficulties or burdens that you can't take off the other person's back, but you can at least make sure that they're taking care of themselves in the process, and also taking care of your own self as well. Now, masculine and feminine that are working to come into partnership right now, what we're effectively identifying is this moment of recognizing, again, it is this ideal feeling. This is that moment that is allowing for divine partnership to arise, specifically due to the fact that we are seeing here that for the energy coming into divine union at this time, there is this observation of feeling like the difficulty or hurdle is in separation. That something was almost observed. What was observed last week? If these were energies that were moving together, it was almost that point in saying that the point of feeling that lack of support was when you weren't together. And it is that point of forming the divine union frequency right now that is almost articulating and amplifying how when you are not together, you don't feel as nourished. You don't feel as supported. This is like where we're seeing, like, it's almost like that recalibration that's effectively happening, that's allowing for the divine union to come in, because it's almost creating that shift. Masculine, this is why this may feel like an immediate sea change for a lot of the masculine energy experiencing this, because what we're effectively seeing is, again, this is masculine energy that suddenly recognizes and feels like they feel better. It's almost like masculine basically trying to say, I feel better when you're around. I feel better when you're around. And feminine almost amplifying the same. Masculine and feminine that are in separation right now, this is effectively, again, why the feminine is effectively cutting a cord right now and doing so with a lot of pain in their heart, because this is a feminine. What was the lesson of the Venus in retrograde cycle? Feminine's own ability to overgive to situations and circumstances that do not give back to them in kind. So what do we see that the feminine is doing in this modality? This is a feminine energy that's saying absolutely not. This is a feminine energy that recognizes their own pattern to overgive and is simply like, I am not in the state or space where I'm going to be on a shelf, where masculine has availability to me, but when I need something, the masculine isn't there to support me, because that is feminine saying and seeing a point of saying, this is a masculine that asks me to give and give and give and give my love and not get back in kind. And that's a feminine that's saying, like, this is a situation that is imbalanced and therefore I need to sever it. Masculine energy in separation right now. Something potentially occurred over the last few days where someone potentially brought this up to you. Energy around you. I don't know if you articulated something. Again, this may have been a moment you went to others for advice around circumstances or situations, and this was a moment wherein we see that the masculine energy got that message amplified to them and said, well, I can see why they would do that. I can see why, do you not think you should have done X? Do you not think you should have done Y? And this is that moment for masculine that, again, is either amplifying how someone was over giving to you and you are not giving back in kind. Something here has been amplified in potentially some circumstance or situation where you're now seeing how much someone gave to you and how little you gave back to them in kind. And this is either a moment that you are embodying, experiencing that imbalance, you're seeing it, or this is a moment that you're pushing back on it. You're pushing back, you're doubling down, you're saying, no, that's not the case. No, I gave plenty. And that, even in that moment though, it feels like a bit of a rift, because again, it's potentially even creating some kind of rift between some energy around you, that you're being very resistant in terms of what they were trying to tell you. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Three of Swords in combination with our Temperance in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? We love this. This is beautiful energy today, but I have to say, it's beautiful energy that's coming through during a moment of difficulty, right? Bearing that weight, masculine and feminine energy right now that's in divine union and partnership. This is that point of, again, you're not in the divine union because everything's perfect. You're doing it because it is that shared ability, that ability to bear each other's burdens, to hold space for each other, that almost amplifies the importance and the value and the significance of the partnership itself. It's a desire to, again, relieve each other of that burden that almost amplifies the partnership itself. It's not that all of everything becomes perfect in divine union. It is that moment of recognizing that it is a burden that you share together. And that is almost like being immediately reaffirmed even in the partnership right now. Even through some circumstances and situations that may feel very trying and difficult. Masculine and feminine that are moving into divine union and partnership, this is like moving very heavily into the divine union frequency right now. A lot of energy just moving zip right back, right into divine union right now. Because this is a moment that we're effectively seeing that, again, there's almost this moment of energetic shift of being like, it hurts more when we're not together. Things are harder when we're not together. We should just be together more, moving into divine union. feminine and masculine that are in separation right now, this is feminine cutting cords. This is feminine just snipping emotionally, energetically right now. And basically looking and saying, feminine saying, I'm moving away from things, not because I don't love them. I'm moving away from something as quickly as I can because I care about something. But it hurts too much because feminine is choosing an equal partnership above their own love for energy. This is a feminine recognizing that they cannot make something where something does not exist. If the masculine does not want a balanced partnership, the feminine recognizes they cannot convince them to do so. They just need to observe if this is a masculine that does not desire a divine union and move forward to seek one. Masculine, if in separation right now, this is potentially you realizing that there is a thing called a divine union that you may not necessarily have even recognized. That there's a difference between being in a relationship with someone, being together with someone, versus being in a divine union with someone. They're different things. You can be with someone your whole life and never be in a divine union. If it is imbalanced, it doesn't matter. It won't be a divine union. And masculine, you are learning this. You've literally got relationships coming towards you right now, partners, and now you've got healthy karmic energy that's trying to give you these little points of advice on this potentially right now. And this is a moment that, again, masculine energy, you're either in a space or place where you are embodying these lessons and being like, I need to understand. I need to get to the bottom of this divine union thing. I need to understand what this is. I need to understand what that looks like. For the other part of the masculine energy right now, this is again, and again, for some of that energy, for the energy that's recognized this is the moment that feels like a bit of an epiphany, because this is potentially rushing you back to some situations or circumstances right now and being like, oh, I see what I was doing wrong. I see why what I was doing wasn't that. Potentially rushing back to tell them, like, I get why you were on my case about this. I get why you were like this now. I see what you were looking for me that I wasn't giving you. I get it now. Or this is masculine energy that's taking this lesson forward. So we like this. The healing's coming through either way, backwards or forward. It's coming in. Masculine, and again, why? Because, and this is kind of the beauty of it, some of this is coming through in the sense the masculine isn't just hearing this right now from energy that they're in partnership with. They're hearing it from energy that cares about them. That's like just trying to give them those points. Continuing to get clarification between our Temperance card in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Wheel of Fortune, and we love to see this for masculine and feminine energy right now that is in divine union and divine partnership. This is just effectively that moment that, again, it's allowing for that point of understanding that, like, you can overcome any of these hurdles. You can overcome any of these obstacles. Because, again, the partnership itself is allowing you the luxury of time. It's creating this moment of realizing that the energy itself of the partnership is the persisting, providing factor. It makes everything else easier. It makes everything else doable. It almost like it helps even in moments. It's like the feeling that you don't have enough time right now is almost counterbalanced with the feeling of realizing that in the partnership itself, you have all the time in the world to unpack these things. It's just about navigating the current feeling to help get to that other part. The energy that is coming into divine union right now, this is going to feel like a little bit of that, like, it's going to feel like a little bit of that, like, TARDIS effect. It's going to feel like a little bit about, like, something that, like, looks small on the outside, but once you get into it, it's much bigger. Because it's that moment that, again, you realize that being in the divine union effectively liberates you to a certain extent. It creates this, like, beautiful space where you didn't, like, almost like space that did not exist prior to the partnership coming into being. Space that did not exist beyond that. It's like you're creating that space. You're creating that space for yourselves right now. And in that way, it does feel like this is a moment that is like, again, it's not it's a moment that you're moving into partnership, and it doesn't feel like it is a confining situation. It feels like it is an expansive one because it is opening up. You're seeing the doors open in terms of the possibilities as you move forward in this way. Feminine and masculine in separation. This is that moment that you're potentially observing. Feminine is just releasing themselves. This is feminine saying, again, not wasting any time. Feminine feels like they got all the confirmation they need right now, potentially if in separation, around circumstances or situation with a masculine that either won't take accountability for a moment of crisis that they left the feminine in, or that was effectively in a moment of crisis and needed the masculine, and the masculine pushed them off and said, I've got other things to attend to. This is a feminine saying that I've seen all I need to see. That's all I needed to see. That's fine. Feminine's moving forward. Feminine's moving forward. Masculine, if in separation right now, and feminine saying, like, confirmation of feminine saying, I know that if I go forward, I can find this, but it's not here. That's what's so difficult about this with the feminines. Feminines feeling like they need to move forward on this, even beyond their own heart telling them not to. Masculine in separation right now. This is a moment of that deepening understanding. This is getting past your own limitations, getting past your own hurdles. Potentially, and again, the anxiety with the masculine is potentially a point of understanding that may be feeling like it's coming a little late. It's coming a little bit late. And this is almost masculine trying to like accommodate and account for that right now as it relates to how to move. And again, for some of the masculine energy, this is moving backwards to situations and circumstances to try to articulate that this is something that you now understand, or this is a lesson that you're driving forward on. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords and its reversal in combination with our Ace of Cups and its reversal. Clarification coming through right now with our 10 of Swords. Masculine and feminine, again, in divine union and partnership. This is that moment of sharing that burden, sharing that weight, putting that care, effort, and energy in what you're really trying to create for yourself at this moment. It's really that point of observation in terms of identifying and recognizing what you can do to support, what you can do to drive forward, how you can effectively do that. For the masculine and feminine energy right now, this is almost that point of, again, recognizing the need for self-care coming through. Both masculine and feminine right now feeling that point of potential frustration and exhaustion around some circumstances or situations. Masculine specifically right now, while we did see that over the last few days, feminine has been, feeling a lot of this. This may be coming through a bit more for the masculine right now because, again, something about this, and again, this is almost why we saw that for a lot of this masculine energy right now, it's almost like why the masculine's trying to say to the feminine why they don't like unpacking certain things, which is almost the masculine saying, like, I am not as good as holding emotional space for things that are overwhelming. I prefer to keep my head down. I prefer to like push forward on some things right now. So again, the only issue that we're potentially seeing right now has to do, even in divine union, with this moment, wands, I'm sorry if I said swords, in this moment of masculine just trying to amplify to the feminine and say, I know that you want to unpack some things right now, but masculine almost saying, it's not that I don't even have the bandwidth to. Masculine's almost trying to say to feminine, I don't have the emotional bandwidth to. Because it's almost a masculine saying to the feminine, like, once I start, I can't stop. And once I start doing that, it's like will just spiral out. And this is why masculine's almost trying to say to the feminine divine union right now, that's why I just don't think about it. That's why I put it off. That's why I push it to the side. This is continuation of that conversation. Feminine is seeing that right now and almost being like, it's feeling the weight or frustration of trying to do that, like with masculine right now. And also feeling that is coming from a state or space of fear. And almost feminine saying to masculine, that's not healthy. And masculine being like, I know it's not healthy, but neither is wallowing in how I feel. Right? This is literally two different people arguing about what is not healthy. If feminine over emoting is healthy versus masculine refusing to emote. It's like trying to find that like balance point right now. Even in divine union may feel like a little bit of that trigger point, because it's both two different people, two different energies that have two different ways of navigating things. And never the twain shall meet to a certain extent, but they can try. Masculine and feminine right now that are coming into divine union. Feminine, this is that moment that you may be realizing if masculine's trying to take like a lot of these like bold moves right now, making all of these adjustment points. This is almost a masculine that you're realizing is trying to put their actions into things they can't say. They're trying to put their actions into words they can't say. That's why we saw what was feminine saying over and over again to masculine prior to this. Words mean nothing without action. Words mean nothing without action. This is the feminine energy seeing exactly the validation for that, because this is a masculine that's doing the opposite. They're not saying a darn thing about how they feel. They're just doing the things necessary. They're just doing the things necessary right now to be able to like move towards the things that they desire. They're like, forget words. I'm just doing the things I need to do. Now, masculine, feminine, if you're seeing this right now, again, it's that moment where you may be looking at masculine, seeing all these adjustments, being like, where'd this come from? And masculine just being like, no reason. And feminine being like, that's that creation of the divine union that's effectively happening. Masculine and feminine energy that's in separation right now. This is why we see that the feminine energy is just moving on right now. Feminine energy is cutting those cords, ending those cycles, because this is a feminine energy that's, again, looking at masculine. Did not have come towards them at a point of crisis. When feminine needed them most, this masculine was nowhere to be found. And this is a feminine energy that's effectively saying that this is not a balanced relationship or situation, because this is a feminine that knows that if the masculine ever needed them, they would be there in a heartbeat. The feminine literally just got confirmation, if not immediately, something resonating over the last few days that amplified that this energy was not going to be there when the feminine needed them most, or was going to always have some other priority that stood in front of the feminine. And this is feminine, again, making the heartbreaking decision to move away from something, not because of a lack of desire to give forth to it, but from a point of confirmation of a masculine that they know will never match the degree that they give to it in kind. This is a feminine saying, this is imbalanced. This will always be imbalanced. This energy doesn't know how to create balance. This energy just takes and is not there to give. And this is the feminine effectively moving forward to seek out an energy that desires a divine, balanced union. Masculine energy in separation right now, this is potentially a moment where you're having that point of recognition about how some of your actions may have been misinterpreted in the past. And it's potentially coming from other energy, even outside of divine union right now, or partnership, giving you a lot of this insight, a lot of this understanding. You're having to see yourself from these optics. It's hard to see yourself in that way, but it's almost unavoidable right now because you feel like you're getting it from everybody around you. Almost trying to say from a state or space of being like, we're saying this because we love you. It's almost coming from the masculine. I need to stress, this is almost literally the masculine right now, like in separation, almost feeling like they need an umbrella because everyone's going, we're doing this because we love you. We're doing this because we love you. We're telling you this because we love you. We're trying to help you right now because we love you. And masculine, if you're feeling this right now, this is that moment that we're potentially observing that feels to a certain extent like, this is like, this is masculine that's either willing to make these changes, is allowing this to be that moment that helps them shift into this understanding and saying, okay, I'm willing to do this work. I'm willing to like step into this like space and place. Or this is masculine going, I'm going somewhere else. I'm going somewhere. I'm going to go hide under a rock or something until all of this like, you know, care goes away. Like I'm just going to go over there I'm just leaving. I'm going away from it because this is masculine that's like, but here's the thing. If you're in separation right now and you're doing this right now, you're effectively recognizing that you are doing something that feels like it's not in your best interest. It feels like you are effectively like moving away from something that is trying to help you and being like, I don't want any part of that. I don't want any part of that, like that kindness. I don't want any part of that consideration. Like, I'm just going to keep going elsewhere because again, this is potentially that masculine in separation that's moving into this moment of seeing and feeling, like unpacking and having to say to themselves, why am I running from love? Why am I running from care? Why am I moving away from energy that seems like it is very much invested in what is best for me? Why am I pulling away from that? This is almost the masculine, even as you're doing that right now, feeling that weight and thinking about these things, either again embodying these lessons to do that work or thinking about them as you effectively do so. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between Ace of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Two of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Pentacles. Now, masculine and feminine energy. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are moving in divine union and partnership. What we are effectively seeing is, again, there is this moment that is really building on the beauty and the power of the strength of the divine cycle, of the divine union. Because what we're effectively seeing at this moment is, again, it's not the fact that there isn't circumstances or situations that are difficult right now, but it is the fact that you are facing them together. It is the fact that you are pulling together right now and you are utilizing this as a point of unification to allow yourself to help each other as you go through these modalities. And there is a moment right now that, again, it's not the fact that things are easy right now, even in the divine union and partnerships. There are triggers that are popping up. There are modalities right now. There are abandonment wounds that are rising to the surface right now. But that rising to the surface that is effectively happening at this time is this moment that, again, the energy is almost here to say, the important thing that's happening when that abandonment wound is triggered is not that you are moving from a state or space of reactivity. It is a moment of observing that it is occurring and making sure that you are doing everything you can to support yourself in that moment. And what the partnered energies are doing right now in divine union is effectively affirming to each other that even as those abandonment wounds come up, there's a moment of saying, I'm not going anywhere. I'm here to work through them together with you. And I'm here to observe and make sure that you're taking care of yourself in the process. Masculine and feminine that are moving into divine union and partnership right now. This is effectively what you are experiencing, because a moment that is happening right now, again, even if there are some points and spaces of crisis right now around you that is occurring, this is feeling this, it's almost like feeling like the partnership itself, the divine union that you are effectively forming right now in partnership, feels like a port in a storm. It feels like a haven. It feels like a safe space. It feels like what you are creating together is that safe space. And it's something that is being established and formed between you. And how is it being established and formed between you? In a moment of crisis, coming together instead of moving apart. Feminine in separation right now. This is why we see that you are in the midst of having an abandonment wound getting triggered. That there's a moment that you are feeling that lack. You are feeling the urge to overgive. I'm going to say it again for the people in the back. You are feeling the urge right now. You're feeling the abandonment wound shining its little head in. You're feeling that weight. Your desire is to overgive to circumstances and situations right now to accommodate for the abandonment wound. But what are you doing instead? You are thinking about the fact that a good partnership does not require you to overgive to it, does not require you to run towards it to be able to keep it going. It's not a sandcastle. You don't have to keep pouring sand on it. It's not going to erode. It's something that the energy comes together to in union that creates balance. And it is that moment that we see that the feminine is just moving away from any energy that expects to build a relationship that is built on lack, built on need. This is a feminine saying, I'm moving away. The choice the feminine's making right now is choosing the manifestation of an equal and balanced partnership instead of chasing after something that is showing no ability to have one. Masculine in separation right now. There is a moment of, again, having to encounter a point of observation as to circumstances or situations between what you are giving towards, whether what you're giving towards right now is creating the environment that would allow for a divine union to form, or if your care in partnership is sporadic, if it is something that does not feel like it is consistent, if you are not a constant gardener, if you pull away when things get difficult instead of being present. This is that moment that you're potentially seeing, that there is a moment of you effectively allowing your own abandonment wounds to interfere with your ability to build partnership right now. And this is a moment for masculine in separation that's going to feel very difficult. And I want the masculine energy in separation to make sure that you take a lot of care of yourself at this time, because there's some kind of observation right now, again, by either recognizing and seeing what you need to change to be able to come into divine union, or looking at a lot of divine unions right now around you and feeling like you're on the outside looking in. That could feel a lot of very overwhelming to you right now. And this is that moment of, again, there's even a moment right now that recognizing this is almost triggering the abandonment wound at the same time. Making sure that you don't move in the direction of the abandonment wound right now is effectively key, because it is that moment that we are effectively observing that is allowing you to recognize if you're moving into that modality of desiring partnership right now, desiring that balance, or if this is something that you're going to continue to move away from. But again, recognizing that if you do so right now, that is a choice that you're making, not one that you're going to, it's like almost like masculine in this modality right now is almost recognizing that moving away from something right now is moving away from their own acknowledgement on what they can change to have a divine union. Masculine, continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Two of Cups in combination with Wheel of Fortune. Two good cards to see together. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Magician energy, and we like to see this energy in this combination right now. This is good. This is very good. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are moving into divine union and partnership at this moment. What we are effectively seeing is, again, this is going to feel like a lot of this, like, as long as we're together, anything is possible. As long as we're together, we can overcome any of these hurdles. As long as we're together, like we can achieve what we need to achieve. More than anything right now, it's almost this moment that we're effectively seeing that's related to the fact that we're recognizing that for the masculine and feminine energy that are working in partnership right now, this is that moment of, again, doing everything that you can to support the energy around you at this moment, to allow for your ability to continue forward in this way. Now, for the masculine and feminine in this way, this is almost that point of observation that we're effectively seeing at this time, wherein, again, it's not the fact that there isn't this burden that you're effectively carrying at this time, but it is more that point of observation that you're potentially recognizing and understanding, that's saying that as long as you have the time that you need, as long as you give yourself the space to work through these things, you're going to be able to continue to enforce and encourage that energy between the both of you. Again, this is that beautiful energy of the divine partnership amplifying and empowering each other that we love to see. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that is moving into divine union and divine partnership. This is what you're effectively feeling like you are creating between yourselves at this time. Because what we're effectively recognizing and understanding at this moment is this point of observation that, again, it's that pushing away from the other things right now. Masculine, this is feeling like, again, a bit of a shift that's occurring. Because this is a moment that you're not necessarily looking at outside the partnership for that point of empowerment, for that feeling of autonomy. You're almost feeling the weight and strength of the partnership itself, and it's almost inspiring you to pull all of your time, your effort and energy into the partnership itself to see what you can create in that space that the partnership is allowing you to build, because what you're creating here feels like something that is new, something that was not there is now there. It's the space that you're creating in that divine union energy. Feminine, you're potentially seeing right now a bit of a change in the masculine energy in this modality right now, because again, you're almost seeing a masculine that may not necessarily be articulating how they feel right now, but that's exactly what you wanted to see, because you're seeing now a masculine that is taking action, that is doing the things that you want to see them do. This is a masculine that isn't just giving you pretty words or giving you promises as to like what that partnership's going to look like. You're seeing them immediately putting it into practice. And that is affirming to the feminine that this is moving into a divine union energy. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. This is the feminine effectively taking their own. We saw for the last few weeks, feminine has not been in a modality of effectively looking for partnership at this time. This has been a feminine that's kind of been holding off to a certain extent with that sense of anxiety. But here we see for the energy right now of feminine, even if they're going forward with a bit of a broken heart at this time, this is a feminine that is feeling very empowered to go forward at this time, because this is a feminine that over the last few days, if they had to take that crisis energy that they were experiencing and bring it to outside energies, and the crisis was related to the masculine, feminine potentially even got support from energy in union on how to navigate it. And in a way, it's that point of observation in almost seeing, again, this is the feminine seeing the template that they needed to see that's now empowering them, and feminine being like, I don't need to stand for this. I don't need to be in these situations. I don't need to tolerate a behavior that isn't feeling like it is in alignment. All I need to do is effectively look and continue to seek the energy that wants to meet me where I am, that wants to build that equal partnership. This is the feminine feeling empowered to do so. And we see here that this is the feminine moving forward in this way. Again, holding that pain, but utilizing it as a sense of empowerment, because something that they saw right now gave them that point of amplification. Masculine energy in separation right now. This is one of those moments, because what we see here is masculine. If you're in separation right now, it's going to feel like a bit of a choice that you're making. This is effectively the encapsulation of the choice that masculine is making right now in separation. Are you ready to move into divine union? Are you ready for this to be that equal space? Or do you continue wanting to move unilaterally? Are you continuing to go forward in a space of desiring that sense of autonomy, in feeling the allowance of freedom, having that desire for freedom? Or is this a moment that you're now in a point of, again, if masculine goes forward from this point, it feels much more conscientious, because this is a masculine energy that is making the choice right now as it relates to whether you want to stay in a space of autonomy, and recognizing that that is a choice that you are making for yourself, but ideally recognizing and articulating the fact that that is the vibration that you're choosing to stand in. Or are you truly seeking a divine union? And again, this is different than a masculine that's desiring to have a partner or have a companion or something like that. This is the difference between a masculine that's looking for true partnership right now versus an energy of a masculine that desires to have that autonomy through all things, always to have that moment of autonomy instead of coming into harmony. Masculine is at a point right now, again, if in separation, that you're making that choice at this moment. And that is that choice about whether this is going to feel like, again, that shift that you're allowing to come in within your own self, recognizing and identifying that a divine union is what you are seeking, Or this is a moment that you are doubling down and reaffirming and saying, I am choosing my autonomy. I choose to find the energies that will respect that I always want to move in autonomy. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Wands in combination with our 5 of Pentacles. Card to clarify right now is, we love this. We have here our King of Cups. So masculine and feminine energy right now that is in divine union or in divine partnership. What we're effectively seeing at this time is, again, if in the vibration of divine union and partnership, this is the beauty of the divine union and partnership energy, because this is a masculine energy that in the divine union vibration has effectively learned the ability of navigating one's own triggers, navigating one's own abandonment wounds, having them occur, having them appear, but being able to push forward and persevere through them is what's allowing that vibration of the divine union to come to fruition. Now, feminine, if you're in this modality, especially if you're in divine union right now, that we're seeing that you're going through this moment, or you're going through this energy right now of really trying to feel that weight. You're feeling the overwhelm. You're feeling that incapacity in terms of what you're experiencing. But instead, what we're effectively seeing at this time is you are also feeling the weight of that abandonment wound rising to the surface. You're bearing that feeling of that energetic abandonment wound, but you are also learning the ability to push forward through it, learning the ability to persevere, specifically because you also see over the last few days, related to masculine and feminine right now, a masculine energy that is also in a state or place right now of coming into emotional balance. This is a feminine getting that lesson, learning that ability through the masculine and feminine energy right now via the masculine. So feminine, you are getting this same lesson, and that is also helping you right now in the divine union persevere and push through your own abandonment wounds and your own triggers at this time. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that are moving into divine union and divine partnership, what we're effectively seeing at this moment is, again, for masculine and feminine that are moving into divine union at this time, this is that moment that, again, over the last few days, you may have hit that crisis point. You may have hit that trigger. You may have felt like that trigger was brought to the surface. But what we're effectively identifying at this time is instead of reacting to the trigger, instead you've effectively persevered through it. You're allowing yourself to persevere through it right now. You are identifying and recognizing that this is what is allowing for that divine union to come into occurrence. Feminine is seeing this right now actually happening, specifically because there's a masculine energy that we see isn't necessarily just having words, not just saying what they're going to do. This is the feminine literally seeing the masculine taking that point of action, allowing this to be that point of action. And this could even be a moment right now for feminine trying to come into partnership where there isn't a lot of communication of the masculine right now, but this is almost a masculine that the feminine recognizes through their actions are communicating their emotions. That's all they almost need to see, that is that point of validation of the feminine that's giving them confirmation that this is masculine energy that is ready to move forward into divine union. Masculine energy that is in divine, like moving into divine union right now, this is that moment that, again, it is almost feeling like equal points of fear. It's not the fact that you aren't feeling anxiety. We're seeing here that there's a lot of that feeling right now of a masculine, almost emotionally or spiritually feeling like all of their eggs are moving into like a very particular basket right now. But again, it's almost that moment of masculine recognizing that anxiety you're feeling, that trepidation, is validation about the fact that you care. That is that work of, again, feeling that fear rising up but not reacting to it, allowing it to be a point of embodying, of strength for you, is what's helping you right now move into the divine union frequency, because you're recognizing that it is creating a space or place where you are learning to balance your own feminine emotional energy. And this is why we see that that's almost like that gut sync moment as you come into this vibration, because you're realizing that this is something that you are changing from within. Masculine and feminine energy in separation right now. This is exactly why we see that the feminine is not sticking around and waiting for a masculine to come into this vibration, because the feminine energy is learning that they cannot make the masculine develop to this. They either need to find it or they don't. It's either present or it is not present. Either the masculine has found this ability, they found that ability within themselves, they found that ability within themselves, or they haven't. And if they haven't found it, the feminine cannot give it to them. The masculine has to desire to find it within the self to be able to find it. And that is why we see that the feminine is effectively confirming to themselves right now and saying, I am going to move onward. I'm just going to move onward, because this is an energy that hasn't realized that this is a desire that they need to have within themselves. The feminine's like, if the masculine doesn't desire divine union, I can't be the one to put it there. They need to basically find it for themselves. Masculine and feminine that are in this modality and vibration right now, feminine's just moving forward. Feminine's just moving onward, continuing forward to find energy that they realize and recognize is going to be ready to want to have that type of commitment. Masculine and feminine energy right now that are moving into divine union, that are moving into divine partnership. What we are effectively identifying at this time has to do, again, with that recognition point. That is why we see that that is allowing for that clearance point in terms of going forward. Feminine doesn't see it right now. They're just energetically moving forward, and they're seeking out to manifest this type of energy. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now. The masculine in separation right now, this is a moment that we effectively see is creating a space or a place for you as it relates to whether this is something that you truly desire at this moment. And one of the hurdles and one of the difficulties that we're potentially seeing right now for some of the masculine energy in this modality is the fact that masculine, as I said, it's not just the fact that the masculine energy is getting these points, is getting this feedback, is getting this information from just the energy of the feminine. It's almost also coming from energy right now around the masculine that also wants them to understand these things. We see here that the masculine is going through a moment that there's a point that's helping them heal right now, because some of this energy isn't just coming from the feminine right now. It's almost coming from the energy of other masculines that have grasped this ability, that have grasped this point of emotional balance. And almost that point of recognition right now of, again, masculine feeling, if in separation, that there's energy around them right now that is trying to give them information, trying to show them blind spots that they might not necessarily be able to see within the self, that is feeling so difficult with the masculine, because the masculine almost is feeling like that need to run away from what they're being told right now, if in separation. But also, if you're feeling that need to move away from something, this is literally potentially coming through. It's a masculine being like, well, you have a tendency of running away when things get difficult. And the masculine being like, that's not true. Door slams, footsteps. And then almost the masculine coming back and being like, okay, you may have a point. Right? That's like almost what we're potentially seeing here. So again, this is coming through right now as a moment that may be allowing a point of observation of masculine, again, seeing an energy of a masculine that has embodied this ability of emotional balance right now, and recognizing it and desiring that for the self, or moving away right now from a state or space of just feeling like they're out to seek their own peace, that they're moving away from some point of conflict. They don't want anything to do with it. And this is a moment where, again, they're just kind of staying in this state or space of just trying to kind of make peace with themselves as they do so. Continuing to get clarity on these cards right now between our Five of Pentacles in combination with our Magician card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Ace of Swords in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now that is in divine union and partnership. One of the things that we, again, appreciate right now is for masculine and feminine energy and divine union and partnership right now, there is this point of easement. There's this point that we see that is coming through to a certain extent, because, again, it is the moment of experiencing and facing some of those abandonment wounds, some of those triggers coming into play. But again, Are energies moving away from them in divine union and partnership? Absolutely not. What do we see is happening? This is masculine and feminine energy that are effectively saying, we're going to face these things together. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. This is the energy in combination right now saying, again, the most important thing isn't effectively what comes towards us. It is the affirmation and confirmation that we will face those things together. And it is that moment that we see with the energies making the choice to always confront and to work through hurdles together that is allowing that state or space of peace. It's allowing for that easement point. It is allowing for that point of, again, a surrender that feels like a victory, because the energy that's in divine union is understanding that to a certain point, it is the recognition on all they need to do, like all the feminine and masculine need to do in divine union and partnership right now, is effectively decide what they want to put their time and energy into versus what they want to release. More than anything, that's almost everything that the masculine and feminine is going through right now. And that in itself is what's allowing this point of, again, observation. And also, again, it's that moment of being able to recognize that you cannot make the abandonment wounds disappear entirely. You can't make them go away, but you can change how you respond to them. You can work on that. You can do that work. And in a way, that is the point of catharsis that the masculine and feminine are giving each other right now, if in divine union and partnership, that is allowing for something that feels like it is a productive breakthrough. Changing what you can change, accepting what you can't change. Masculine and feminine trying to move into divine union and partnership right now. This is why we see that the masculine, it almost feels like an internal shift that's potentially happening in the masculine energy as you go into this right now. Because what we're seeing with the masculine is this moment that it's almost like it feels like your abandonment wound's changing. Like your abandonment wound prior to this may have felt like it was around circumstances or situations that took your liberty from you or took your own autonomy. And now it's almost the opposite. Now you're looking right now at situations and circumstances, and it's almost feeling like your priorities have effectively shifted, because now what we're almost seeing is this moment that, again, you're trying to protect the thing that you've created. You're trying to protect and work through on this divine union that you're building for yourself at this moment. And this is that moment where it's, again, it doesn't feel like it's you against the world. It feels like you're creating something for yourself at this time. You're building something for yourself at this moment. You're forming this divine union. And as long as you're able to do that, it's like all of your other priorities are effectively changing. They're modifying, they're adjusting around this. And that's what is allowing for this point of easement. It's almost the masculine willfully giving up the autonomy that they previously sought, because now they realize that this is where they want to put their time, their effort, their energy. Masculine and the feminine energy that's in separation right now. A feminine energy that is moving into divine union, you're seeing this masculine making these changes. You're seeing that their focus has effectively pivoted. You're seeing that their focus is now more, again, almost creating this feeling that feels more insular. It feels more like something you're creating together, because now it's almost this moment of, again, observing the world beyond what you have together in the divine union and partnership. And for feminine, this is a relief, because this isn't a masculine saying to feminine that they want to be in partnership with them. This is a masculine that's actually showing them through their actions that that is what is occurring. Masculine and feminine energy that is moving, that is in separation right now. What we're effectively seeing is, again, if in separation, this is feminine taking this energy back into themselves. This is feminine recalling their own energy, almost effectively saying a refusal point in going to situations and circumstances that are going to feel like they're in a lack mentality, where they're effectively feeling like they're never getting what they want back in kind. And instead, feminine's just surrendering from those things, because feminine is recognizing and basically affirming to themselves as they do so that they know again, and this is the important part, they know what they're trying to create, and they don't feel like they should be in a space or place where they have to beg for it or they have to overly ask for it. A good energy that's ready to be in divine union is not an energy that is going to have to ask for what you need. They're going to ask you, what do you need? Feminine's almost manifesting this because feminine just saw some witness of it around them right now that's building that sense of affirmation. Now, masculine and feminine right now the masculine that is in separation right now, this is that moment that it is now feeling, especially if this is a masculine energy right now. If you're in separation and you're choosing the autonomy of the self, it's starting to feel like a bit more of a cost in terms of choosing to stay in that vibration, because there's something here that feels like you're letting go of things. That in a way, there's almost something now that's happening in separation, masculine, that feels like moving in this vibration has you almost immediately having to constantly be triggered by an abandonment wound. Because again, it doesn't feel like a point of empowerment right now. It feels like something that you are letting go of other things at all cost. It's almost an observation right now, something that occurred over the last few days is making you look at this now in terms of someone asking, why is your autonomy something that you're willing to let go of anything at all costs to be able to maintain? Is it worth that? What does it bring? And for the energy in this modality, it's almost requiring the masculine. You're kind of asking yourself that right now, even in that moment of separation, because there's a point of observation right now that, again, if you're choosing to move in that vibration, you're recognizing to a certain extent that you're very conscientious of it now. You're recognizing that it is a choice that you are making. Continuing to get clarity, final card for today's spread between our King of Cups in combination with our Ace of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Final card for today's spread. Strength. So, masculine and feminine energy right now that is moving again in divine union and partnership. This is the gift of the divine union and partnership. Masculine, this is why we see that the masculine energy is willing to protect and defend this partnership at all costs. Feminine is almost seeing this as well, because this is a masculine energy that has found the ability to find that emotional balance within the partnership itself. This is a masculine energy, if in divine union right now, that has learned the ability to balance the feminine energy. And it is that point of balance that almost, again, it creates this feeling of masculine not needing to hold on tightly to things, not feeling like they need to have an iron grip on anything, because the energy of the feminine just chooses to be in with this masculine energy. This is a feminine energy that feels safe. It feels supported. It feels in a space or state where the feminine also feels like they can be vulnerable, because they realize that the masculine energy, and this is what feminine appreciates, feminine understands the massive amount of bravery that it takes for a masculine to be this vulnerable, to be this emotionally balanced. And if anything right now, one of the things that the feminine is trying to say to the masculine, if in divine union right now, especially if the masculine said in some way, shape, or form to the feminine, well, you know, the reason I don't talk about the things that I don't talk about is because once I start, I'm afraid I can't stop. This is the feminine energy almost continuing to urge masculine into that. Feminine almost being like, I don't continue to work on that, because feminine in a way is feeling like that a way of building the masculine's own ability to navigate their emotions in that way is the way the feminine is assisting the masculine in this modality. So feminine is learning stoicism from the masculine, and masculine is learning how to be vulnerable from the feminine. That's how this works. That's supposed to work. And this is, again, a source of unlimited strength to be able to provide this to the other person. Masculine and feminine energy moving into this modality, coming into this vibration right now, we are effectively seeing that, again, the masculine and feminine that's realizing this or working through this right now, they're feeling this point of, again, the problem or the hurdle right now with the masculine is potentially articulating on how you're feeling. You're coming into emotional balance right now. And again, it's this moment that you're almost like eagerly surrendering your autonomy in a certain fashion, but it doesn't feel like a surrender. It feels like a victory, like something that it is a burden you're gladly willing to put down, because you're recognizing that this is a moment that, like, you don't, like, your autonomy doesn't feel like the thing worth protecting, as opposed to the union that you're creating right now. And that is that moment of feeling that, like, point that feels kind of bittersweet for the masculine, because there's a point of letting go, but immediately feeling empowered as you do so. Recognizing that it is requiring that release, but almost immediately getting that point of, like, that sense of strength in doing, feeling empowered to do so. Feminine, you're seeing a masculine, if you're moving into divine union, doing this right now. And it's like, this is that hallelujah moment. This is that moment. It doesn't matter what you call it. If feminine is seeing a masculine right now that's making these choices, willfully, like not caring about those things, putting their care and attention in the partnership. This is the feminine almost seeing, immediately feeling that strength as well. Because this is a feminine that's seeing that this is a masculine that doesn't feel like they're resisting divine union anymore. It's a masculine that's almost like caught up. Like they're like, oh good, we're on the same page now. We don't have to like fight against each other. We're just moving in the same direction right now. Feminine is also immediately feeling that sense of strength. Feminine in separation, this is why feminine is cutting any cords right now to seek this out. Feminine is not I keep saying, feminine is no longer in a modality of teaching or growing the masculine into this right now. Feminine's just like, you are or you're not. You're either a rock or you're a rose. What are you? Pick what you're going to be. You have to, feminine's like, it's not feminine's job to turn one into the other. Feminine's just moving into this modality of just isolating on working on the manifestation of finding that masculine energy that's found the emotional balance within themselves that they desire, divine union. Feminine's holding strength and just saying, I need to be strong as I do this work of letting go of anything that is not that. Masculine energy, if in separation right now, there is a moment, even in separation right now, masculine, that again, you're either coming into this vibration in separation right now. You're finding this ability to balance the emotional self right now, which is potentially building this point of wanting to let go. Again, this is potentially a lot of masculine energy right now. If in separation, almost again, making the choice right now, this is pretty cool, making the choice right now to willfully let go of their own autonomy. This is masculine energy making the choice in separation and saying, this is dumb. Why am I doing it this way? Why am I holding on to my own autonomy so much? I should be moving into divine union. Or this is masculine energy in separation that sees this right now and is saying like, no, it's not for me. It's not for me. It's not a space or place that I feel balanced. It doesn't create that sense of balance for me. I'm going to stay on the autonomy route, but I feel emotionally balanced doing so. So even if a masculine energy is making the choice right now to move from a state or space of autonomy, at least they're feeling emotionally balanced in doing so. So again, we like to see this because this is healing coming from either end. So bottom of the deck on this reading right now is, we've got here our Knight of Wands in its reversal. Now, masculine and feminine energy right now, even in divine union and partnership, a lot of this potentially has to do with outside situations and circumstances that are around you at this time. One of the things that we're potentially seeing right now as it relates to some of the divine union energy has to do with outside circumstances and situations. This is anything outside like the partnership itself that needs to be addressed in some way, shape, or fashion. This may even have to relate to like communicating plans, communicating, a lot of planning here. There could be a lot of, and I'm not surprised to see this right now because we've got this Mercury retrograde that we're just about to move into. So like trying to get things done right now, like I'm kind of getting like there's this like expediency right now that's happening that I feel like is almost like, even as some of this like is happening right now, it's almost like there's some things right now in divine union that feel like they can't be unpacked to the degree that one needs to unpack them, due to the fact that someone has a lot of obligations, particularly masculine energy at this time. They're almost calling their attention away from being able to address these things. Masculine and feminine, they're moving into divine partnership right now. This is the masculine having a hard time communicating what they're feeling. Masculine is feeling this weight right now. They're putting it into practical movement, but they're not necessarily expressing why. Feminine, if you're seeing this right now, this could be a moment of recognizing that this is potentially a masculine that has a hard time communicating how they feel. They're just trying to show you through words. Masculine and feminine in separation right now. The problem with the feminine in separation it has to do with the fact that whatever this energy that they're potentially pulling away from is, they realize that this energy still has a lot of passion for them. Feminine, you're maybe recognizing that this is so hard because this is almost a moment of pushing an energy away that you realize is continuing to come forward towards you in this vibration. The problem isn't that the energy is trying to come towards you. It's almost looking at the energy and saying, you only want me for one thing. You're only here in one degree. You're only here from one angle. You only have a single angle that you're coming towards me in, and it's from your passion center. The problem with the feminine in turn is feeling like this is going to have to be like a bit of that like resistance point, because it's the masculine that still has a lot of passion for this energy, but it's not consistent. Masculine in separation right now. This is the problem, because again, if you're in separation, you probably now see to a certain extent the fact that if the feminine isn't allowing you forward towards you right now, it's because you only are moving. There was something about the way you were moving that seemed like it was only driven forward because of your passion center. You may not even understand how to do something from a different direction here. And this is almost a moment of masculine if you're in this modality saying like, well, how do I shift that? How do I change that? Because anything else feels like it's almost too vulnerable. And that is a bit of that problem with masculine right now. It's like masculine likes to lead with passion, but recognizing right now that that is the last place that anyone's going to let them in, because that's almost where the note was driven. This is almost the fact of the energy around them saying, that's the problem. You drive from that point. That's all anyone can see. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and experiencing it with me. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can book a private reading with me. You can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber ID at the point of payment. Please keep in mind when you book a private reading, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, I would like to remind you that I never, ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your DMs and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. I want to thank you guys so much for being here with me today and sharing with me in these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.